Maybe text it to Lois if you have a.
Yeah.
I got it.
Okay.
Well, there was
She's
two.
she's got it.
Okay, we're live. So
One doesn't work, the other one. So it must be five.
all right. 239 uncensored, everything Southwest Florida and beyond. We're live. We got a great show today. It's Funtime Friday. And I'll tell you what, we are packed with a lot of people that are going to come on. We're going to have Pat Jira. It's my co-host, Pat Jira. We are going to have the one and only Lois Bolin. She's going to give us a little update of what's going on with Veteran Affairs. We are going to have Chris Worrell back on for a short time at around 8:50. And then we're going to finish up with Chris Hudson. So Chris Hudson's a political analyst, and most people here in Collier County know him. Great guy. He's going to give us a little rundown of what is going on in Southwest Florida. Hey, Patrick, are you on? Did you make it in?
Good morning, Tim. Yeah, I was here bright and early. Thanks for that small cup of coffee.
Yeah, did it hook you up? Did it get you fired up? What's up? What's up?
I'm fired up. We got a great show today. 3 great guests. I get to prove you wrong once again with a bear attack, and I think we're going to have some fun this morning.
Well, the bear attack, we're going to talk about that in a little bit. But before we talk about that, if you remember last week, I did say, or not last week, just 2 days ago on Wednesday, I did say that I don't believe there's been any unprovoked bear attacks in the state of Florida. And I'm still kind of holding to my story on that. But there have been, I think, 38 attacks. But we'll talk about that a little bit.
Oh, I don't care who tell it.
Now, the one cool thing is we have a little game that we have here on 239 Live. And this little game is called, basically, should we call it Stump the Chump or should we call it Stump Pat Jira? What do you think, Pat?
I think Stump Gyra is just fine, Tim.
Stump Jira. Now, Pat, and I give him a little bit of a hard time about this, but Pat knows a lot of information about things that really don't matter. And that's my opinion. And he even agrees with it. But what we'll do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to play a little bit of this game where if you know of an NFL football player that currently plays from, what would you say, from 95 and up?
95 on, yeah.
95 on, that currently plays in the NFL, and if you can give him a name, and you can do this in the comments, give him a name, and he's going to tell you what college that NFL player played for. And if you do happen to get it correct, which is kind of cool. If you do happen to get it correct, what do they get, Pat? What do they get?
If I don't get it correct,
I'm sorry. If you don't get it correct, but they ask the question and you don't get it correct, sorry about that. Want to make sure.
That's okay. They get a free gift card, free shooting session at the Alamo.
There we go. Free shooting session at the Alamo. That's pretty good.
And if they can stump me twice, they can shoot at me at the Alamo.
So, Kerry over at the Alamo, he's a GM, great supporter of the show. He will give a free shooting session over at the Alamo if you can stump Jira. Now, let me go ahead, Patrick, and just let me try this out a little bit.
Yeah.
Let me throw a name out there. Cordell Stewart, for instance.
Colorado.
Cordell Stewart. Meredith actually brings up a good thing. She is gonna try to do a little bit of stumping here. Meredith, you gotta pick a player, Meredith, and see if you can stump him. I'm sure you can. I'm pretty confident that you can. Um, let me go for another one. Let's go with Drew Bledsoe.
Washington State.
Let's go with. I can't go too far back. I'll go with a real easy Southwest Florida guy, Ernest Graham.
Ernest Graham, University of Florida, Cape Coral Mariner High School.
What years?
Well, he went to University of Florida. What years he went to University of Florida? Is that what you're asking me?
Do you remember?
Late 90s, early 2000.
Okay. I can't really argue with that one on that. I'm going to go with another one. How about Reggie White?
Reggie White went to University of Tennessee.
Okay. Not bad.
Minister of Defense.
You're doing pretty good.
And that's only one cup of coffee. I usually need 3 cups of coffee to get going. So if you stop me today, it's only because Tim bought me the smallest possible coffee at 7-Eleven. But
well,
still
yeah.
surprised.
For some reason, you're thinking like, got tons of money here, so I got to get you the smallest coffee. And then, of course, I was concerned to make sure that you got the right one because I know how you are if you don't get the right coffee.
I like a minimum of 3 or 4 different flavors in my coffee. And that's just true story.
Yeah,
Tim has witnessed this.
I'm trying to figure that whole thing out, but
my taste palette is very sophisticated, so I like to absorb a lot of the different flavors.
How about when you go into Starbucks? Are you a Starbucks or a Dunkin' guy?
Dunkin'.
I'm Dunkin' all the way. Every time I go into Starbucks, I have no idea what I'm ordering. I don't know if this.
I have no idea who I'm looking at half the time at Starbucks too, but that's a different matter.
Okay, we have a question. We got one coming up from Meredith. Let's bring it up here. Can you see it?
I don't know who that. Yeah, I can see it. I don't know. I don't even know who that is. I'll be honest with you.
James Warren Hart.
Sounds like an uncle of hers or something. What did he play for? 3 games in the NFL in '74, Meredith.
Meredith,
there's going to be some kind of story tied in, Meredith. I don't know who that is. I'll be honest with you.
I think Meredith might have won. I'm not sure.
What years did he play?
Do we get an air horn for Meredith?
You guys have to have this play minimum of like 2 years in the NFL. What did he play, a month for the Lions, Meredith? In the 60s?
We got to find out. So actually Meredith, 1969.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Meredith. I'm sure that was a great year for wine, but I wasn't born in 69, let alone watching football.
Meredith, now what we want to do is we want to make sure it's like from 95 and above. 95
and played for maybe played for more than 1 year or 2.
But hey, you got to throw those names out there. It's always a good thing.
I'm sure Meredith's got some kind of personal story with that guy.
Maybe. Meredith, any personal stories?
Was he a Lion?
She goes no.
Okay, no, okay. Allegedly.
It was a year Meredith was born. That's what she puts in there. So
okay, good year, 69 from what I heard.
Yes, that's what they say.
That's what they say, right?
She said, no, he did several years in the NFL.
Okay.
So yeah, okay.
Just a little bit before my time.
Yeah, that would be it. Now let's talk a little bit about. I don't know if you got the chance to see the game last night, but it was unbelievable. U.S. hockey. They played Canada. It was a huge battle about 3 or 4 days ago. That was probably like last week. Huge battle between them. Within the first 30 seconds, they had 3 fights. Last night, I got the chance to watch it. And I was very impressed with the crowd at Boston. When the Canadian anthem was played, they didn't boo anybody. There was a little bit of it, but not a whole lot. They came out. They played hard all the way to the end. In overtime, Canada goes ahead and scores a goal and wins it. I mean, this was a big game. And they're saying that this really has impacted hockey in general for the better because everybody's fired up and they want to start doing these series a lot more. Are you a hockey guy, Patrick?
I'm a little bit of a hockey guy, being born in the Czech Republic, arguably the greatest nation to produce hockey players. So Yeah, I follow a little bit of hockey, not as passionately as NFL. Now, did tariffs just go up another 15% because we lost to Canada?
Oh, without a doubt. You know that. Yeah, I think I heard Donald Trump give a little pep rally to the players just prior to the game starting. So that was really kind of neat. I mean, how many presidents get a live feed into the locker room and give them a pep rally? I was pretty impressed with that.
Yeah, I don't think Joe Biden was doing any of those. Probably in bed already by the time game started.
Yeah, I'm sure he was definitely probably sleeping. So, but I will
Call
say
him Sleepy Joe for a reason, Tim.
Yeah, I still think that having these hockey games sporadically, or at least these tournaments, really brings a lot to it. Because I don't know about you, but I don't really watch soccer. But when the World Cup's on, I'm all over it. Or the Olympics. I mean, I'm all over it. So I'm like, we got to win, USA.
Yeah, absolutely gives another spotlight to a sport that maybe needs some, and definitely in this case, I think it gives hockey a boost. So always excited to watch your home country compete, especially with everything going on with U.S. and Canada. I think it's brought some good limelight to the great sport of hockey, where fighting is legal. In the NFL, you kick a player, you get suspended 4 games. In hockey, get encouraged to knock out a guy. So I can get behind that.
Well, that's another good point you bring up. I mean, in the NFL, you get off the pile and you give a guy a kick, and next thing you know, you're suspended for 3 games. In hockey, which I like, basically the referee says, go ahead.
Let's go at it.
Go at it. Let's see it. And a lot of people, I was with a couple people last night that didn't like that fighting aspect of it, but I'm gonna be honest with you. I thought it was pretty good. We got David Craven's jumping in with relentless hope. He said, "I'll check you in to the glass, Jira." I'm hoping.
I bet you would, Dave. No disrespect.
But no, thanks for jumping on.
Why you gotta come at me like that for?
Yeah. But he's going at you full bore. It's all right.
I see that.
Yeah, we
don't have much ice in Southwest Florida, so
yeah,
should be good.
And Lois Bolin, she's going to be coming up in just a second. She's actually at the studio. She's right next door. She's going to be coming up right at 8:15, and she's going to give us a little rundown about what's going to be happening in Southwest Florida. But we'll get to Lois here in just a minute. I want to run one more story by you, Patrick. What's going on? People are really fired up about this, and I like to bring this one story up again.
You're fired up about this.
And I'll probably ask Lois about it, but I'm a little fired up about this Costco thing. I gave a call into the one and only excellent county commissioner down in the East Naples side. Meredith's got a little Sleepy Joe in there. I had a little phone call into Commissioner Rick Locastro, and hopefully he'll call me back on it. But my take on Costco is I think that we need a Costco in East Naples. Now, please leave your comments if you disagree, because if you go to the one up here in North Naples, it's crazy. It's packed.
Like we talked about yesterday, but lived in East Naples for so long, I think that would be a home run in East Naples. It's needed. There's no Sam's Club there, so I think it's a no-brainer, and I think it's going to happen, and I think it's a good thing. Now, would it be East Naples or South Naples?
Yeah, according to Meredith the other day, it's now South Naples. But the thing is, you got to think about this. If you do not have one in South Naples, East Naples, whatever you want to call it, it's going to be at Rattlesnake and Collier Boulevard. But if you don't have one, that means you got all these people going from South or East Naples up to Naples Boulevard to North Naples. So all that traffic is coming this way. So, I mean, there's a little bit to be said of there, but do you think there's a little bit of not in my backyard type of thought here?
That's what it sounds like from some local residents. But I mean, if they already got the land, and again, it's something that's actually needed. It's not like they're building another racetrack. It's something that is going to serve a purpose in the area. And if we could get a Trader Joe's down there too, I think we're good to go. Costco, Trader Joe's, let's go.
Listen, love having convenience. I love having things that are close by. But this is going to be a bash. I can't wait to get the commissioner on. We can talk about what it is, and a lot too has to do with property rights. So if you have Costco that has done studies on this area, they find this to be a great area for them to put it in. They purchase the land. It's already zoned for that. I think there's a little bit of expectation that they can build there.
You know, it'd be interesting. I wonder what the size of that Costco will be, because different Costco's are different sizes. Like the one in South Fort Myers is not as big as the one in North Naples, so maybe it'll be a smaller version of a Costco, which would make a lot of sense too.
Yeah, that could work. That could work.
As long as you get that $1.50 hot dog and soda.
I heard they're not giving up on that. I heard that's the way it's gonna stay, and they're willing to lose that little bit of money. But yeah, so what I want to do now is I want to get Lois Bolin. She's unbelievable. Lois is, if you don't know Lois, if you're not aware of who Lois is, I'm sure you've been living under a rock, because Lois is quite amazing. She does a lot for our veterans here locally in the community. She does a lot for pretty much everybody in the community, which is quite amazing. And she's a wonderful person. And I've got to know Lois really well over the last couple years. Lois has been instrumental, and her husband's wonderful, Captain Wayne Smith, POW. But she's pretty much getting ready now, and she's always looks wonderful. Lois, I just want to know, are you in the studio? Are you there?
I'm in the studio, but I got to come early because I'm going to have to check the lighting for my makeup.
Oh, you look wonderful, Lois.
Shut up.
You look wonderful. But no, it's so good to have you in. Good morning.
Well,
you
it's so
doing
good
good?
to be here.
Yeah.
I'm doing great. I'm looking at all the stuff I brought to chat about, and I'm sitting here enjoying watching you and Mr. Patrick kibitz back and forth. And I agree. I love those $1.50 hot dogs and drinks. I don't eat them often, but they are good.
Yeah. You know what I like about going there? It's like there's always a big line, so you're gonna wait a minute anyway. So you go order your food, then you really, at some point you really don't care too much about waiting, because you got some food, you can eat, you can have fun. It's kind of like an event.
You eat your hot dog in line?
Well, I order it, I eat it, and then I go shopping. Then I can knock out everything at the same time, so it actually works pretty good. Yeah.
Okay, well that sounds like fun. And I wasn't sure exactly where they were going to build it, but I thought what a great idea to have another Costco. But I understand, not in my backyard, so there you go. So I need to move over in the middle. Oops.
No, you're good, Lois. You're good.
Okay.
Yeah, no, you're good. Well, let's ask you about Costco. You live down in the south end of Collier.
Yeah.
Give me your thought on it.
Well, like I said, depending on where is it going to be, where exactly is it? I wasn't sure.
It's going to be at Rattlesnake and Collier. Rattlesnake and Collier.
Well, I'm sorry, I do like that because it's a little closer than the other one, but I don't want to make any of my neighbors in the hood mad, so whatever.
No, that's good. Well, yeah, you definitely don't want to get your peeps upset in the community.
Yeah.
I don't know things like this, and you've been Lois is a historian here in Collier County. Been here for how many years? You've been here, Lois?
46 going on 47.
46, 47. Known historian. Like I said, she's been here. She knows pretty much all the ins and outs of Collier County.
Sound like Wayne.
What are some of the big changes that you've seen over the years in Collier County?
Oh my gosh! Other than traffic,
how about people? Are people different?
Are people different? Well, yeah. Well, you start from before 1960. There was this whole culture of everybody hung out together. The only place that they could really go was the Naples Pier, which is right behind me, to do their socializing and so forth. But when Port Royal was built in 1960, that was really kind of like the first division. Up until then, from the 1900s until then, everybody sort of enmeshed together. And even after that, in the 60s to like the 70s, you didn't really, I don't know where I'm supposed to look at this camera. Am I supposed to look at that green dot? people, you didn't know people who had money. They would drive old cars or they would be on their raggedy shoes and hat, and you would never really knew who had money because they were here to hang out and here to not be seen, just to enjoy life. Because if they wanted to have that seen and be seen, they'd be headed over to Palm Beach. That's their choice. But they chose to be in Naples, a quiet elegance, and have a good time. And then when the Ritz-Carlton moved in, I think Ritz-Carlton is one of only 2 places in the world, could be more now, that has now 2 Ritz-Carltons. The scene sort of started to shift. You still have that local yokel kind of feel in certain things with the swamp buggy. But then you have the wine auction, the wine festival. And so there's that dichotomy all in between of various things to do. And if you just have to look at the calendar of what's going on in Collier County, good Lord have mercy. There are so many things I can't really keep up with everything that's going on.
Yeah, it's amazing all the things going on that goes on a regular basis. And I'm very fortunate because you've asked me to attend a lot of events. You actually are very good about keeping my schedule up to speed, and you're not scheduling, but you're sending me stuff. Hey, Tammy, you wear this, but I can tell you on any given day, there's 2 or 3 events that you can be in. And juggling that is definitely a job in itself, you know?
Yeah, Wayne gets tired. I'll say, let's just go stay 10 minutes and we'll just hit 3 or 4 things. He goes, why are we doing that?
Yeah, why would we do that?
well, he doesn't get the marketing and then trying to get the information to write. So I'm like, God, never mind, honey. We'll just go to one and sit.
Yeah, let's talk about a few events that we have coming up. I know this one is one that is happening. I think it's happening like this weekend, right, Lois?
It's happening this weekend, and thank you, Chickabee Clark, Tag a Pet for a Vet. She kept calling me, what is this thing? What's going on? And I'm like, I don't know. And so we finally got a hold of, I think Dan Caldwell keyed us in or sent us some information. I'm pulling up my my information here, but it's West Point. I don't even know who Mercer is. Patrick, who's Mercer? I know it's a university, but they're having a lacrosse challenge, and they're also going to be having paratroopers that are going to be coming in. The gates open at 10. I've got the actual booklet here. The gates open at 10. Can you see that? Where do I put this so you could see it? Can
right
you
up
see
there
it?
in the thing. The gates open at 10. Yeah, I've got it displayed there. But I don't
you
think
have
it
it
has,
displayed. Okay,
yeah,
you don't have all this.
I don't have all the information, but it's 10 o'clock. Yeah.
The gates open at 10. It costs $10, and at 11:15 the stadium gates open, and 11:45 the paracommando parachutes jump in with the national anthem, the military flyover, and 12 is when the actual game starts, lacrosse starts, and then they have a tailgate party. You can't start tailgating at, what do they do? Tailgating. Anyway, you can't.
You
do
can
tailgating
start
until-
tailgating early, Lois. You can start tailgating.
Well, you can, but when you get in the parking lot, you can't tailgate until you get to a certain position. So I'll send that to update. But anyway, then the tailgate continues because they have a rock concert after that.
Okay.
So, and if you look at it online, you'll be able to get the whole scoop. Paradise Sports Park has put up a whole map of how you get a hold.
Yeah, so go ahead, Paradise Coast Sports Complex. Just do a quick search, events, and we're golden on that. So
yeah, and so that'll be there. So it's going to be a lot of fun and kind of interesting. But it was the best kept secret forever because it took us like about 3 weeks to key in and find the people and so forth. So there is that.
And then we have another event, right? Collier County Veterans Independence Expo. Tell me about this one.
Well, this has been going on, I think, about 7 years. I helped start it with the vet center, and as it's grown, and you can see they have over 50 vendors. They have a breakfast, a free brunch for veterans and their families, because if you have a son that's in the military or daughter, whatever, you can come and get additional information, and it's everything you could possibly think of. But it starts at 9. They have an opening, the ceremonial opening. Then they have a free brunch, and you get these nice little bags, and different organizations like Gulf Coast Veterans and Friends, the Vet Center, Well, the list was up there. It's just Legacy Funeral Home. We don't like to talk about that, but you always got to have that. Who else they got? Service dog info, various veterans organizations, every organization you can think of. I mean, they're 50 and they're wonderful people, and it's a great time to walk around and see what's happening and see what's cooking.
Yeah, so you have, it looks like you have
Yeah.
a free lunch, free brunch going on. You got local services, aid and attendance. I know the military museum folks will be there as well.
Right.
Big thing is in Collier County, surviving benefits, spouses, elder care services, all that,
Yeah,
all that
yeah.
stuff is going to be there. So, as you know,
And-
Lois, you know better than anybody else. It's such an important thing to have.
That's the,
I
yeah,
mean,
it's the way they stay connected. Like Baker Senior Citizen is a wonderful place that they have now. Sorry, I'm trying to find my article that I had for you. It just has everything. If there's something they don't have, you can connect with somebody and they'll find it for you.
Yeah, that's good. Meredith jumps in and says,
That
Lois,
Meredith, hey!
Lois is the best county commissioner of all time. And then Robert Burt jumps in and says, I agree. So, I mean,
God,
that's
pretty funny.
You are very,
Yeah.
very loved in Collier
Well,
County.
that's sweet. Yeah,
And,
that's because I don't have any responsibility.
And you've been here, like I said, I hate to keep hounding on that, but you've been here a long time, so you know all the
I'm
ins and outs.
47 years. That's right after I was born.
Well, that's. I mean, right at my birthday. No, but no. I've been here for 35, so I've seen a huge
Yeah.
change, but nothing compared to what you have seen over
Yeah.
the years.
Yes.
So, another little interesting thing we've got a map. Can you explain this map and how this all started? I think Lois was instrumental in making this happen.
Well, in 2010, I went before the city council because during that time they were really promoting 3rd Street South and 5th Avenue because those were the places that were known. And I was working on local history and trying to show people the connectivity of downtown, what I like to call Old Naples. And so I went before the people at city council and said, you need to understand that there's more than just these 2 districts that grew up out of the needs of the people. You've got Creighton Cove, that was a district between that and 3rd Street. And then as you come up the road, if you can see, there's the Waterfront District. That's the one I brought to light because you've got 10 City and you walk under the bridge, which is what I was trying to promote at the time. And then you've got Bayfront. But then you come on down, there's this little area called 10th Street. And 10th Street was where all of the lumber mills were and all the things that was way out of town at the time. So the 10th Street, I started calling it the Design District. Lord, did they pitch a hissy fit. But we'd already created the map. I got people to help us create the map to show the whole connectivity of
Right,
the area.
how it all works together. Yeah.
How it all works together and how I could walk it. I forget what the time was. I'm going to have to do it again to show that you can walk it. I was really trying to say you don't need any more sidewalks because old Naples wasn't designed to have sidewalks. It was designed for the casual life and where the lawns rolled into the streets. Unfortunately, now they really roll into the streets when it rains.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's what.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Can you how do we get copies of this map? Because I like the look of it, and I think they update it every year, correct? Or every so often?
I doubt it. Because if you go into City Hall, they have the maps there. But if
Okay.
you ever go down to the Naples, well, it used to be at the pier, I don't know if it still is, but at each of those locations and at the underpass, they always have one of these maps up to show you where you are.
Okay.
So you can find out. So I know that they're still there. I still have some copies. And especially now because 10th Street is now starting to do, I'm sorry guys, I'm messing up the name, but every month they have an event there. I'm gonna call it a walkabout where you get to go down to 10th Street. They're starting to promote it because you look at all those little off-site buildings, those beautiful design buildings that they have. And then they still have the smaller places. And that's the texture of what Naples is about. So, I like that part. I like that piece of town. I like all of Collier County, but when you really want to show the history, that whole little area shows that.
Yeah, and they're doing like a huge. I think they're trying to take downtown and even push it out out east, I guess, towards the Bayshore area. As you know, that's kind of a whole different vibe to it now. I know
But
they've done a lot with that.
that's not the city of Naples, okay?
Right,
That's
no,
all you
yeah,
can. Let's get
yeah.
that clear. And this is they're trying to. It's connectivity. So, and I love the Bayshore area, which used to be Kelly Road. They changed it to have Highfalutin Dame because Kelly Road that was a bad place.
Yeah,
But
it
it
was-
also has a wonderful history with the Turner family and so forth. That's how the Botanical Garden got all that land.
Yeah.
When Turner's daddy sold it to him. So, I don't know if I'm out of time or if I'm on to my next thing or what's the dealio.
Yeah, so we wanted to bring you in, just give us a little rundown. What we want to do is have you on a lot more often. Anything that's updated, you obviously can do it from your home or come here. That's always a good thing. Life in Naples.
Life in Naples. I write for this wonderful magazine, and I want you guys to start to pick it up or look at it online because every month I do an article, and it's about either history or veterans, which I doubt you can see it.
Yeah, you get it there a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, I put it online. So I was writing actually about Fifth Avenue, and
That's the
Anyway.
one and only Reg Buxton.
that's Reg. He is. I love that man. He's
Reg
Scottish,
Buxton.
you know.
Yeah, I go way back with Reg Buxton.
Yeah, I'm sure with your background, his background, but he is a hoot. He doesn't say much, but you know what he means.
Yeah, I would say that's a good way of putting it. But no, we love Reg.
We love Reg.
But anytime you want to share something, Lois, you are a
Well,
special
I wanna
person
be a
to
regular
me,
Life
and I
in
love
Naples.
it. Yeah.
I'd love to come in more and tell you all about this wonderful life in Naples.
And hey, listen, we're a work in progress. I'm working on buttons. This is a temporary setup. We're gonna have the studio a little bit more organized. But hey, listen, you're always welcome. We love you, and thank you so much. Please do me a favor and say hi to Wayne. We love him as well. And,
I definitely will do.
And thank you so much for coming on, Lois. We appreciate
Okay.
you. All right.
Thank you.
Thank
See
you.
y'all
Yeah.
later.
All right. We're having a good time here at Studio 239. And listen,
Sorry.
if you are interested in coming on, if you have a story, if you have something that you'd like to bring up, please give us a call. Don't hesitate. Come on. We want to make this light. I know we've been kind of a little bit not too wild and not too crazy because ultimately I got to kind of work through all the little hiccups and trying to get the tech done. But we want to kind of give you a good show with a lot of information, a lot of fun, and some craziness. But yeah, talking about a little bit of fun and a little bit of craziness, do we have the one and only Pat Jira back on the studio? You back, Patrick?
I'm back.
Yeah, you're looking good today. You're looking
Thank
good.
you.
I'm
Outfit
I'm
courtesy
sporting.
of Red State Golf. And Tim, what do you got on?
Hey, listen, I'm supporting. Listen. Got my flag over here. I've got my goated shirt here, which these things are unbelievable. I mean, check that out, Patrick. I mean,
Did you
I
register?
got my medium going. It's unbelievable.
Did you register those guns, Tim?
I did. I got
Okay.
all of
I
it
gotta
set
check
up.
I'll check with Colonel Blue, make sure those are registered. in Colorado County.
Yeah, they're all registered with the FBI, so everything is good. So
Hey,
yeah.
I heard we got another stump Jira question in there. I can't see.
Let me see. I'm going to go through, make sure. We got Mike jumping in. Mike says, hey, Patrick, nice shirt.
Red State Golf. I'm gonna get you one, Espo. I gotta get you a goated shirt because Mike Espo is one of the goats. So I will get you a goated shirt.
Hey, listen, these things are unbelievable. We're going to actually probably get an opportunity to, show you and display some of those. I know we got our great men and women that get on with the goated stuff and all
Red
the
State
attire,
Golf
the
goated.
putter, Red State Golf,
Yeah.
and all that.
Goated, basically the same company.
Yep.
Shout out to Espo. Love you, brother.
Oh, here we go. DeMarcus Ware, looks like. Do we know?
Oh, Rob, my guy Rob DeMarcus Ware. He went to a small college. Troy. I want to say Troy State or Troy. Am I right?
Robbie,
Rob?
when you can put it in there, let's see if we got it right. I can do a little fact finding with Patrick.
Be Troy or Troy. I don't know if they were Troy State or Troy.
I don't
Unless
know.
he was a first round pick, but out of a small college. Hall of Famer DeMarcus Ware.
DeMarcus Ware.
Yeah. Ex Cowboy and Bronco as well. Shout out to Sab.
Hey, guess
Get
what?
that one right, bro.
Guess what? Hey, we got it. Yeah. You got it right. Hey, you can't. I mean, when he gets it right, you can't argue with him. You know, I mean, it is what it is. So, are we going to allow Meredith's victory? Because she did go.
No.
Did say 95 and above.
95 on,
right?
yeah.
And she
So I'm
was
still
in,
perfect.
Like, a 69 thing going on. So I don't know what's up
Still
with that.
perfect.
Yeah.
Sab, if you're on, if you want to throw another one on, more than welcome. Keep them coming.
Yeah. Well, we got a good group of people on here. A couple other things I wanted to bring up. Naples in general. Let's talk about Naples in general in the season, Patrick.
Yeah.
How long does it take you to get from where you live up off of Mockley Road to the studio? If you're coming around 7:30 in the morning.
7:30 in the morning, you're probably around 30 to 40 minutes.
Just in that short distance?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Mockley Road is even in the summer is terrible, but just to get out of the community sometimes can take 5 to 10 minutes.
Yeah, I live a little bit further out. I live at Collier and Immokalee, and it really makes a huge difference on what time you leave. Like if I leave at 7:15 versus 6:50, it's night and day. So
Night and day, and then if you leave before 6:30, terrible. But after 7, you can shave off about 10 minutes.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, it's just it's crazy knowing that you have to leave about 15 or 20 minutes earlier just to make a normal appointment. I've been trying to work out those schedules and work out those times.
Like I said, I used to travel to Atlanta a lot. I've been in LA a couple times. Not saying it's quite there, but it's got that big city traffic feel. I mean, it's absolutely brutal. There's times you can get caught at 3-4 lights.
Oh, absolutely. And I think we get a little bit spoiled here because I've had the opportunity to go to the cities, to be in the cities, and the reality is, yeah, we live in Collier. Yeah, it gets a little bit difficult during the season, but is it worth it? Absolutely. We want people to come here. We want people to spend the money. The thing is, it is taxing on our service members, you know, our firemen, our police, hospitals, all that stuff. So yeah, it's definitely something. Yeah.
Just no more Costco's apparently.
No more Costco's. Oh, we got
Costco's a deal breaker because if we get a Costco, then we can't handle the infrastructure. Costco, that's a game changer.
Heaven forbid. We have one more, and then we have one more from Robbie.
Kansas State.
Kansas State. I don't know. I need to know the horn if it's right.
That one I could tell you 100%. He was the fifth. I want to say Robbie was the 5th overall pick in that draft too. You can tell me if I'm correct on that. 5th overall pick out of Kansas State.
And the one and only Blake Becker, who has the hottest podcast in Southwest Florida. I'd say that's 239 Uncensored, without a doubt.
Well, I'll say that all day because you're the boss. It's your studio, so I'm good with that. But I don't know, Blake, who's got the biggest numbers on your podcast when they went on? I think it was Politic and Jira, Larry Love. Just saying. But Blake's YouTube page is absolutely on fire. Well,
how do we find that? Is it Blake Becker?
Built by Becker.
Built by Becker on YouTube.
He's so big time. Couple people were watching the podcast last night, and you have to sit through commercials now, multiple commercials, because his page is blown up to where it's monetized. So he's doing a great job. But we know it all started from Politic and Jira, Larry Love, right, Blake? But shout out to Relentless Hope too. I mean, they do a great job, and they got big numbers as well. I mean,
200,000 subscribers.
We got some great people in this studio. John Huffman. So, like Blake said the other night, Studio 239 is just not a place where you shoot your podcast. It's a movement. It really feels that way. And I think we got a couple people join the family here. One today actually, and then hopefully another one here very soon. So, very exciting stuff at Studio 239 because what starts here, Tim?
Your story starts here. Yeah. And the reality is if you think that you want to do a podcast, just get with us. We'll plug you in We have different packages. You can do 4 podcasts. You can do 2 podcasts. You can do a one-off podcast where you can get some reels. I would always suggest for someone to come on, try a podcast, see if you liked it. But it really, truly is the platform now to get your information out, whether you have a business or, I've had people come in and say, I like to do this podcast because it allows me to speak and talk and get my word out and kind of like a little bit of a therapeutic type thing. So, yeah. Oh, by the way, Robbie says, good get. You got it right. We'll give you, the air horns on that one. Yeah, there you go.
Thank you, Rob. Love you, Rob.
Yeah, so we get
Rob's my guy.
We can't stop them. We can't, and we're allowing people to have multiple opportunities. So I know Blake Becker probably knows some.
Blake Becker hasn't seen the football since kickoff. He can't name any NFL guys. Are you kidding me? Stick to business, which you're great at, Blake. No, I'd be curious to see if Blake could throw one out. He'd probably throw like Dan Marino or freaking,
Dan Marino, Pitt,
yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Say, I got a few of them. I mean, most of the stuff that I know, it's important stuff. So I keep it, and the stuff that's not important, I throw it away. So I don't, I can't do the stuff that you
throw it in the trash, so it goes right to me.
Yeah, exactly. But back to the podcast, Patrick. Give me a couple things that have really helped you on the podcast, and how you view podcasts and how it's helped you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's grown into a business for us. It started off as something fun and a hobby. Me and Larry talked about doing a podcast way back when. Started doing it just kind of for fun, and it legitimately grew into a business where we're blessed enough to have 10 sponsors for our podcast, and it gets the message out there. We have a lot of fun with it, and there's definitely a buzz about it. I mean, I've got several people now messaging, how can I be a part of this? How can I do a podcast? And we have a lot of fun with it, and it's definitely the hot thing to do. And for messaging purposes, whether it's a business, political, I mean, what greater way to get your message out there than doing a podcast? So I think in 2026, you're going to see a lot of these political campaigns gravitate toward doing a podcast as well, because you can get that message out there, control that message, and also have fun with it. So I think it's the wave of the future. It's here now, and I don't think it's going anywhere.
No, I agree. Definitely, the podcast world is growing. It's bigger.
Some of these people are crazy even to do a podcast. Some of these people are absolutely, So it's the trend. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that I do kind of have a little bit of fun with is people will come in and say they want a podcast, and then they sit down with me and try to go over their concept and all that. I'm happy to do that. I really am. But the big thing we do is we provide the studio and the time. We do some production, but we give the file to them to be able to do what they want, because the studio is very busy. So people are in and out and all that.
I was just going to say, as much as I love that the studio is busy and getting booked up, can't even get Politic and Jar Larry Love in the studio that much anymore. It's so booked up, but that's a good thing. And speaking of Blake, he's got a big podcast today at noon. I'll let him announce it. I know Blake always says I talk for him, so we'll let Blake announce it. But you have a podcast this morning, and then Blake's in the studio, and then we got Francesca coming in. So busy day at Studio 239. Holy smokes.
Yeah, we have guests that come on. If anybody wants to come on and bring information, please get with Patrick or myself, and we definitely get you on here and tell us what's going on in the community and have a lot of fun. But listen, I like to rip on Pat. I mean, Pat's
really?
My buddy. We always joke around.
You and Blake both do.
This story we put on a little bit on Wednesday. We had a guy get attacked by a gator, right? So the story was big, and I looked over at Pat and I said, Pat, we'll give you a little backstory. Yeah. I went over to Pat. Pat walked outside, and I believe you were going to your car, or you were taking the garbage out, or something to the fact, and he saw a black bear. He runs back in the house. He runs back in his house, and he he immediately calls me. He texts me. He says, "Hey, there's a
Again.
bear. What do I do? What police department
didn't-
should I call?"
I didn't immediately call you.
Well, I think it was pretty quick. I mean, first off, you called me, and I trust me, I don't mind you calling me. But he goes, "Who do I call? What police agency should I talk to? What should I do?" And I'm like, I don't know how to go. Tell me what I'm telling different.
Boy, Larry Love, well, I don't care who tell it. Okay, if you have a friend that's an ex-police officer, you're going to go to him for advice on something, correct? So who do I call in that situation? Do I call wildlife? Do I call the non-emergency number? So I was just looking for a little bit of information. I didn't call you immediately. It's not like I ran home, locked the door, and hid under my bed maybe, and called you. Okay, so that story went a little differently. Now, fast forward, you said on Wednesday's show, I've never heard of a bear attack in Florida. It's never happened. So what do, Mr. Fact Check? I pulled up about 30 cases in the last, it's going about 20 years, but over 30 cases of bears attacking people, including 2 in Collier County, including 1 in 2018 where this guy was almost killed by a bear. So I don't want to hear anymore. Bears never attacked a person. What does Sab say? Gave the bear his wallet and said...
Yeah, we got Sab says gave the bear a wallet and said you didn't have any problems. You didn't want any problems. So yeah, that's kind of funny. But yeah, so
now we need to get the bear side of the story in this too. Let's be fair. We only got one person's side, so there's always 3 sides to every story.
Yeah, no, that's true too. Yeah. So I will tell you this, that Patrick did his research. He found a couple stories. I think there were 38 cases. If you look, since the list began in 2022, the year the greatest number of reports across the state, there were 7 incidents taking place in all, and FWC has 39 incidents under their belt. So, again, it's one of those things where, yeah, it happens, but is it happening that much? And I think I did say
you said I've
attacks.
never heard of a bear attacking a person, and I brought you 38 cases in this great state of Florida. So what do you mean they were provoked? Because you take your dog for a walk, you're provoking the bear? I know bears own land and territory in Florida, which I do feel bad for the bears by.
Yeah, they are. The bears are definitely
they have nowhere to go. So
the bears are definitely getting
like PETA,
getting pushed out. So I do agree with that. I like to give you a hard time because I honestly think that you're afraid. You're afraid of Florida and all the crazy animals it has. I don't know.
Florida and all the crazy characters it has.
Yeah, that's true too. Yeah, I get it. So just so you know, we're going to have Chris Worrell coming up. Chris Worrell is a J6 prisoner / hostage. I've actually personally got involved with Chris at the local Collier County Republican Executive Committee. And it was about a year and a half ago, Chris came up to me and we started talking a little bit about the story. And that story, when I initially talked to Chris, I wasn't 100%, sold on his story. Not saying he was not telling me the truth, but the more I've got to know Chris and I've got to hear the story that Chris has given me, I understand, where he's at. I took a little heat when I posted. I just did a podcast. We're going to tell you how you get that podcast. I took a little heat. Somebody said, I don't want to be associated with you anymore because you interviewed Chris Worrell. That's fine. I've been in law enforcement for 31 years. I understand that there's people that are frustrated that they got pardoned by the president. People are frustrated that how could somebody, do this and go to, and get off. And the reality is, after talking to Chris, he wasn't getting off. That was the summer of love, if you remember, in 2021, actually 2020. And
that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, the summer of love, right? Wasn't really the summer of love. That is a little bit out there, but the thing I really wanted to bring up is, listen, I have my opinion. I interviewed Chris in a podcast. I can tell you that after talking to Chris, I truly understand his story, understand his plight, and I'm gonna bring Chris in here just a second, and I'm gonna see if Chris is gonna give us a little bit of his insight and why he's on the podcast and what we talked about and how that all worked. Chris, I just want to bring you in. I kind of got you. There you go. Can you hear me, Chris? Are you there?
I can I can hear you, buddy. Can you hear me?
All right, you're looking good. You got a good backdrop there. You got a little bit of everything. But no, very, very good to have you on.
Hey, before I lose this old man train of thought, listen. First, Tim and Patrick, thank you as always. But you know what? Let me put a message out for those that are concerned citizens over these pardons of January 6th that you just alluded to, and for those that want the truth, want it. Talk to people like me. Look, I'll walk you through the lack of evidence they had in this stuff. What they said is not what happened. It's that simple, ladies and gentlemen. If you're going to walk away from Tim and Patrick because they interviewed a January 6th guy, then apparently you don't love the current president either, because as he flew over, and if you want the audio and the video, I could send it to you. But the man made it very clear as he flew over the Gulf of America the week before for the Super Bowl, the American people were assaulted. We didn't go there to assault. Many of us, 90% of us don't have any criminal history. Even those that do have a criminal history, what is it? What happened 10 years ago that defines you for your life? You people need to just wake up, enjoy the ride on the train, and pay attention without bias, without judgment, because none of us are full of shit in this. Excuse me. What the government did to the American people for January 6th is the biggest crime ever perpetrated on the people of this country. It is that simple. You don't have to like it, but the truth changes for no man.
Chris, I know we talked about this during the podcast. My prior law enforcement experience, police at the U.S. Capitol, FBI at the U.S. Capitol. Tell us a little bit about what would you say to those police officers that were there that day that were trying to defend what they thought was right, and where you're at today, and give us a little rundown on your thoughts on that.
Look, my first and foremost, I'm such a domestic terrorist and a danger to my community, and those are quotes from the federal U.S. court judges like the Antichrist Beryl Elaine Howell and the dishonorable Royce Lamberth. Look, these people have no clue where I stand. Is this that many of the cops that were allegedly there that day, I don't believe were true cops. That's my opinion. Do I have any evidence to support that? No, but I looked some of these men in the eye as they walked past me in riot gear and got up on the West Steps, and they sure didn't had the look of fear in their eye, many of them, and they didn't even have markings on their gear. But as far as the cops go, listen, I will stand with anyone in any place in this country for righteousness. I don't care if you're wearing a badge or if you're wearing tattered clothes. That's my judgment. I've stood with the cops right here in this state in Florida when Antifa attacked a small police department up here, little north of, right around Tampa. So I've worn back to blue. I've been back to blue. I walked these streets when Antifa decided, and they were given permission by our local police department and commissioners to have a march and shut down streets. So I do have respect, but many of them, unfortunately, especially in that district, have no honor, have no oath, and acted against the American people. And see, part of your oath as you take it and you support and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic, so help you God. That means if you're given an unlawful order, you don't follow it.
Yeah, I mean, listen, being a law enforcement officer for as many years I have been, I actually watched quite a bit of the footage of J6, and I'm going to get with you, and we're going to break down some of your stuff at some point because you said you have
Yeah.
a lot of video. I did see police officers opening gates, opening doors. When somebody opens a gate and opens a door, what does that imply? In my personal opinion.
Don't come in. Apparently, don't come in for January 6th of 2021 because you have a moving gates. You have an opening 10,000-pound magnetic doors. You have an escort of the QAnon shaman, Jacob Chansley, getting escorted by an officer by himself, unlocking doors inside the Capitol with keys, walking past riot-dressed police that don't even look up at him as they're on their phones. But this is an insurrection. These are domestic terrorists trying to take over our government with no weapons, with flagpoles. Ladies and gentlemen, flagpoles and voices is what they want you to believe for 4 years that the American people were taking over the government with flagpoles and their voices and pepper spray to defend themselves.
Chris, one question, and this is, and I know we discussed some of this on the podcast. If you were offered the opportunity to do the exact same thing again, knowing what you know now, would you do it?
If my country called on me and I hoped him for all that's holy in the name of Jesus Christ, that this never comes again, because I do believe that if something like this was to occur again, it would not be, it wouldn't be a very pleasant situation. I do believe it would be revolutionary type of action. So, believing that would be the next reason to bring 2.2 million roughly people together in this country again, at that point, I don't think I would go to it. I would prepare and stand put.
Yeah, I know, Patrick, you're going to bring Chris on your podcast and
Next week, yeah.
Yeah, in our podcast, just so you know, you can get it on Apple Podcasts, you can get it on YouTube. It's out there, so please just go look at it, listen to it before you make some comments. And hey, listen, at the end of the day, if you don't like my decision to put Chris on, I'm going to stand with it. Chris, I'm looking over at you now. Listen, after talking to you, and I knew of you before, and I have never heard anything negative about you, but knowing what you went through, hey, listen, I'm going to let you tell your story. Do I agree with it 100% that there was a semi, I don't want to say semi disagreement with the law enforcement up there? Maybe not, but getting sentenced to over 12 years in prison, 10 years, long time. You had that long wait. You got sentenced, right? But you also had been going through about 2 years of hell for 2 or 3 years of hell during the process before you got sentenced.
Yeah, while I
correct?
was home on house arrest for 2 years, none of that time counts towards any time in jail. So,
Right.
And I went through hell with God, chemo, surgeries, hospitals. It was crazy.
Yeah, Patrick, you want to throw in anything on that?
No, it's incredible story. We're looking forward to having Chris on next week. Patrick Dearborn. Patrick Dearborn's going to sponsor that podcast along with Red State. So I can't wait to get Chris in the studio and tell more side of the story. He's got a heck of a story and it needs to come out. I'm glad he's able to go on 239 Uncensored and looking forward to talking to Chris more and got to meet him at Bible study a couple of weeks ago, and good man. And I'm glad he's free and able to tell the story that truly needs to be told.
Chris, couple more things. What are your goals now since you're out? You've been pardoned by the president. We talked about that on the podcast, how that was, and what are some of the things you want to do, and what messages do you want to send to our community and country?
Well, let me enunciate something there. You mentioned the pardon, but let's not also forget that dishonorable Judge Roy C. Lambert on February 3rd, at the provocation of the appeals court, had to dismiss my case as moot. Now, for all you out there that don't understand some legal jargon, and believe me, it took 4 years to get educated in this, dismissed as moot means this, ladies and gentlemen, for all those that are so much against Tim for putting me on here, and God, he'll probably face more for this one too. And anybody has any second guess, I stand with Tim any day of the week, being that he stands with me. That's how it works in this world. You look at dismissed as moot means I've been arrested, but now no longer charged nor convicted. So you have that. As far as the movement, what do I have for now? I've got to save lives in prisons, and I need the American people's help. I need we the people to rise with me. I need some support financially. Look, I have no way to even get myself the medical attention I need right now, money wise. It's crazy. We're still canceled out here. American Express for 2 hours on the phone. We got nowhere with 5 different supervisors getting me back on the account that I was on for 8 years before. Trisha's had for over 20-something years, flawlessly. And they wouldn't give me a reason. For the first time in my life, I've been denied a credit without a reason.
So basically, even though you've been pardoned and things do take time, you've been cleared, you're still facing a lot of adversity from companies, businesses, maybe those folks in the community getting jobs, things like that. Do you think that's something that you can overcome, or something that you are working to try to do?
Of course, yeah, I'm going to overcome it because I got my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ with me, my President Donald Trump, the baddest Attorney General, Pam Bondi, the director of FBI that came in with doors flying off at hinges, I'm sure, silently, because I believe there was 6,667 what do they call that when they didn't put a name on it? They were sealed indictments and that across this country yesterday. Look that one up for those that want to doubt the man Cash Patel. That's what happened in federal courts across this country yesterday. It's coming, people. You can't stop it. You've beat up the American people for decades, unjustly, illegally, fraudulently, with treason. And I do believe the justice of this constitutional republic is coming.
I know, Chris, you've been extremely open to me, very transparent. Advise that, hey, say what you want, say what you will. I've got the picture that it's publicly out there. Do you mind if I show it and you kind of explain what went down, basically with the pepper spray? Do you mind if I put that up there?
Come on, bring it.
Come on, bring it. I just kind of want to get your take on exactly what happened, and obviously we can see see the picture.
So
you can see that
while we're talking, yeah, let me dictate about this picture. And Tim, can you find that one that we had up the other day where it shows me like 25 feet away, and keep that for a moment?
I wish I could, but I got to kind of get. I want to show it, but I got this one set in, so I don't know if I could. Would that be somewhere where I could get it like on?
You had it up when we did the podcast the other day, I thought, where I was circled and the police was way off to the left. It's online, but anyway, so
We'll bring it up at some point.
let
Right
me
now it's kind of
describe
hard.
this picture. So if you look at the in front of my raised right hand, you're going to see a lady with red mittens covering her face. Now, there is a gentleman standing off to her left, probably, I don't know, 3 feet on that raised stairwell there. Underneath that same arm, if you zoom in, there is a guy all in black ski mask. And if you look at his eyes, he's looking up to the right at me because I just had some very choice and descriptive that I delivered to him as I'm dealing with his buddies that broke apart a fence. Were throwing pieces up at the cops on the second level. It brought tear gas, flashbangs, and that down on us right after that because one of them actually got one of the cops. Now, did it hurt him? No, but look, if you're going to go poke the hornet's nest, they're coming. And that's what happened. So that guy underneath my arm, he got away unscathed, at least by me, luckily. But if there's a broader picture that shows how far away to the right of my hand, even outstretched, the cop line that they say I assaulted was about 12 feet to the right. Now, keep in mind, if you zoom in on my hand, even people, you can't even see the pepper gel can I have because it's that small. It was 3.5 or 4 ounces.
Yeah,
I
let me be
mean,
able to zoom in.
what am I going to do against cops from 12 feet away with a 4 ounce can of pepper gel when I got a guy that's less than 4 feet in front of my hand? It's my target. I mean, let's use some common sense here, people. You're not going to try to blast somebody from 12 to 13 feet away when I could walk right up to you.
Right.
Now, and then there's a body camera that I wore all day that magically, and once the feds got in their hands, deleted 7 hours, 26 minutes, and 32 seconds of continuous body cam footage I had from that day, but it doesn't exist. And that would have not only exonerated me, but how many feds out of the conservative 200 plus that has been discussed by some congressional representatives that are true warriors in this movement have disclosed and said we have the proof of.
Yes, that picture, it's so good that you're able to give us a rundown on that because when you look at it, you're like, hey, listen, there's no doubt that he's got pepper spray in his hand, right? Just thinking, zooming in a little
Was
bit.
it, or was it orange juice?
No, I get what you're saying. Well, there is a little stream
But,
if you.
but
If you
I
use
will
it.
digress and tell you I had a 4 ounce can of pepper gel clipped to my stab plate vest. No question, no doubt.
Right.
And
No, you
I
did
have
tell me
nothing to
that.
hide here. Right. And see, for those out there that are skeptics, Tim, go back to any interview I've done from the DC jail with Greg Kelly back in 21 and that. So you see, people that lie, it's easy to figure out because I don't have anything written down anywhere, anytime. You want to pull me over on the side of the road and talk to me about this, I'm going to tell you the same story in the same mannerism every damn time. Because the truth doesn't need to be doesn't need to be thought about. It's there. You want to write a book? I've got it all right here. I can't write it. I don't have those skills. Could I throw some shit down on paper? Yeah, I could throw a lot of stuff down on paper, but I can't write a book. And I've got a ton down on paper. So those that want to doubt me, look, find me, contact me. I'm on X. I'm on Truth. At J6 Hostage, at J6377183. Contact me. I'll be happy to talk to you about the truth if you're willing to hear it and not have an opinion from your armchair.
Well, and that's the thing. Like I say all the time, it's pretty easy. And I'm big on the keyboard commando stuff, and I want people to comment. I want people to share their opinions. I don't dislike anybody for doing that, but when somebody says I disown you or I no longer want to be associated with you because you interviewed Chris Worrell. To me, that's short sighted. You're going to come to me as a law enforcement officer for over 30 years and try to tell me that, hey, I had a friend that was at the Capitol. Well, I've got several friends that are there. Do I want to see anybody get hurt? I don't think
No,
I don't think you had any intentions of anybody getting hurt. You told
no,
me that when you went there that day. Correct me if I'm wrong in any of these statements. It was about 150, and you were like the first 150. You did not know what was going to play out that day. Did it get a
no.
little bit wild, a little bit crazy? Absolutely. But you did not go there, from my understanding, as a Proud Boy even, to cause problems that day. Now, maybe not
We went
everybody
there
had
to
the same
yell and
intentions.
scream. We went there to yell and scream, to have our grievances heard at the United States Congressional, the Capitol, where our voices to be heard. 2.2 to 2.5 million people showed up in the city that day. That's not a coincidence. There's a lot of discussion that faith and we it was definitely it was a Jesus moment. There were so many prayers and songs and happiness everywhere until the provocateurs provoked. And that's the truth. The video is coming. Look, the evidence is coming, folks. For those of you that aren't prepared and have still built up your wall about January 6th, it's about to get imploded, and it's going to happen faster than the Berlin Wall came down. I'm promising you. Kash Patel and Pam Bondi are about to blow the doors off of January 6th, and it's going to go all the way to the Pentagon with General Milley.
Real quick, and I know I asked you this on the podcast, and I'm probably taking this out. If you had the opportunity, and you said you haven't had a chance to speak with President Trump, if you had the opportunity right now to speak with Donald Trump, what would you say to him?
Thank you from the deepest part of my soul for saving my life and for really standing up for this country the way nobody else has and nobody else will. Not from that seat. He's a true warrior, a true American, and it's sad that it took this long to get somebody like him and come in and do what's right in this country and develop a team. Look, his team is it's divine intervention that he did not get into the White House in 2020. I believe it. So many of us Christians believe it. It was needed, and now it's go time, and it's going to be with justice for all.
Outstanding. Thank you so much, Chris, for coming on. Again, like I told you before, you have a open invitation to come on. Anything that pops up, anything you want to get out there. We appreciate you being so open and honest. I think that's the key. Letting people know exactly what happened. And again, you can't hear it from other people. You got to hear it from you. And I think when it comes
That's right.
from you, it's very powerful. And I think that message is clear.
Well, I think what drove me is driving me now. Of course, my relationship with my Lord, my faith, is stronger than ever it's been in my life. But see, when they try to kill you in a jail for political purposes, and I'm talking about the DC Gulag, and that was proven, ladies and gentlemen. We have a contempt order by a federal judge on October 15th of 21. See, when they try to kill you, Tim, you either do one of two things. You either cower and crawl under your rock, or you come out for the injustice. And they chose me. Now it's my turn.
Thank you so much, Chris. We appreciate you coming on.
Thank you,
Again,
Chris.
looking forward to you guys downloading my podcast 2 through 9 Uncensored. Also looking forward to you coming on. I believe it's on what day is he coming on with you? Pat?
Monday.
Monday. Okay. Coming back into the studio podcast and you getting that word out, Chris. We appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no doubt, guys. I love you guys. Tim, Patrick, you guys are warriors. Stand for the truth. The truth can be given. We can lead them to the water anyway. We just can't make them drink it, unfortunately.
That's true.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you so much.
God bless.
Thank you, Chris.
Listen, we
God
have
bless
a
you.
we have a great guest coming on. Chris Hudson. He's got all the inside scoop. I know Pat Jira is going to be talking to him primarily because Pat is a little political guru here in Collier County too. So it's going to be a great interview with him. So we're looking forward to that coming right up at 9:30. Pat, what do you think about Chris as far as his information he provided us?
Well, first of all, Chris Hudson's the political guru. I mean, I equate it to Mel Kiper of NFL Draft. Chris Hudson can talk politics like no one else, so we're looking forward to having him come on. No, I mean, I definitely agree with the Trump pardons. You know, Chris got to tell his side of the story. Go on your podcast. It was a great opportunity, and we look forward to continuing that conversation next week.
Yeah, one of the things I really that hits home is, you know, he talked about how it all went down, how he ended up in Washington, D.C. on that day. And the big thing is I think, like most, that were uncomfortable about how the election went, they all planned to go up there and let people know that they didn't like how things went down. My big thing is, obviously it got to a point where people were injured, people were killed, and very bad situation. But I think the overreach from prosecutors, the government at the time, obviously backed by our past administration, sentenced these people to crazy sentences.
We were made example of.
Be made example of. 10 years, throwing a couple extra two just for the 2 or 3 for the heartache and time and so on and so forth. And I didn't get into why Chris ran from the FBI. He's got a great story, and I'm sure you'll probably ask that as well. But you know, I do kind of get it. I mean, I've been a victim of battery against a law enforcement officer. I've been spit on. I've had things thrown at me, and the prosecution never went forward. So that's it. You know, that's one of those things where Donald Trump said himself, "Hey, listen, they wanted me to go through each and every one of these 1,500 or so people and find out which one needs to stay in prison, which one needs to be released." He goes, "Listen, they have done their time. They have gone through hell over the last, 4 years, and I'm going to go ahead and pardon them all." So he took a shot. He did it at the beginning of his term. I'm sure it'll stick with him a little bit, but I personally don't think he cares. Yeah.
And shout out to Mike Colombo. I ran into Mike Colombo yesterday, and he represented at least one J6er pro bono. So I know he was very active in trying to help.
Yeah, no, it's definitely important that people understand the process, and the federal system is much different than the state, but it's a tough sled because the federal government, they have their thresholds a lot less than what they have in the state.
Yeah, I think they have a 98% conviction rate, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it's the rate, and we go back to some of the pictures with Chris, but the rate that they convict is pretty high because a lot of times they do not go out and take the chance. Now, when Chris was talking about
they
this
have
picture,
the resources too. Yeah.
Well, they have the resources, but their thresholds is a lot less too. So it's definitely a little bit different. And looking at this picture, I kind of wanted to point out that you have the American flag standing high. You have his pepper spray. You can see a stream out there, but the guy ducking down right underneath him, he said that he had some choice words with him. So definitely something to consider. But when he goes and breaks it down, it definitely makes sense for sure.
I want to ask him about the guy in the Viking hat. I want to hear the story on that.
Yeah, well, that'll be a good question. Yeah.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about what's going on. I want to hear something funny. What are you doing? What's happened in your life that you can kind of tell us and give us a little bit of information about?
Wow, you put me on the spot there. No, actually, Sap said he threw one in there. I can't see the comments for the Stump Jira.
Let's see if we can look. Yeah, I don't see. Okay, here we go. Sab put this one in there.
No, I think that there was another one in there. That's a. You remember the Jerky Boys, Tim? There we go. Okay, that's John Mobley, linebacker, Kutztown State. I want to say 1996 draft. Sab.
Is Sab still on?
Yeah, I'm not sure if he's still on,
Yeah.
but I'm 99.9% certain. Kutztown State, very small. It's like a D2 school in Pennsylvania, I want to say, that John Mobley came out of. And I want to say it was the 96 draft. So
96. Well, hopefully he's still on. And again, more wonderful information that Patrick's given us.
so every time I get one right, I get a lunch from you.
Well, no, you might get one from Mike.
Yeah, what's up, Mike? Love Jersey Boys.
Jersey Boys.
I don't know what that means.
Is that
I
like
don't know what Jersey Boy. I don't know what Jersey. Oh, he's talking about Jerky Boys, maybe. Do you remember the Jerky Boys?
Yeah,
too?
I do remember them. I do
Yeah,
remember them. Yeah.
You could tell where our mind level IQ's at, me and Sab. We actually have a lot of fun with those skits.
Some good times with all that. But let's talk a little bit. I know something that you really wanted to get out there, and it's been driving you crazy.
I don't even know where you're going to go with this, but go ahead.
Yeah, the 50 Cent situation. I mean,
Yeah.
For anybody who now look, you finally perked
getting
up.
me
And
fired.
you finally get into the game. Hey Pat, over to you.
You bring up 50 Cent, my eyes light up.
I mean, seriously, like you fucking leaving me out here to hang sometimes, you know. Oh, did I just cuss? Did I just cuss?
Yeah, Facebook just flagged us. Look at 50 Cent gets you fired up as well.
Yeah.
So
Go ahead.
this is very big. So this guy, Big Meech, BMF, drug organization in allegedly 90s, early 2000s, whatever. Stars made a series about him, and 50 Cent bought the life rights to it. Well, series is doing really well. Put his son through acting school. His son plays Big Meech on the show. So what does Big Meech gets out of prison, and a couple months later takes a picture with Rick Ross. Now, a lot of our listeners, I'll explain this whole thing real quick. Rick Ross and 50 Cent don't get along, have a beef, whatever. So he takes a picture with Rick Ross. Not a good idea. He was doing a big concert down in Miami, had some big performers. Well, 50 Cent shut that concert down, and canceled BMF. So the biggest thing is don't bite the hand that feeds you, and loyalty. I always talk about loyalty.
Who gives a shit about all this? Who really gives a shit about any of this?
I do.
It doesn't even. It doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah. Well,
So tell us
some
exactly
things
what happened. Tell me
I just did.
the big beef. But why should the normal, ordinary person really care about that?
Well, I
Tell
care.
me.
Well, you asked the question.
Music podcast facts.
Thank you, Dave. Dave can relate. So he basically 50 Cent exposed Big Meech as a snitch too, and Dave will agree. We don't get down with snitches.
If you're a snitch in the rat world, what happens to you?
Career over. Well, it used to be like that. You know, if you had any kind of snitching attached to your name, your career was done. But now it's like become acceptable. It's like, you know.
Thank you, Mike. I totally agree with you 100%. I don't know about Dave Cravens. I know he's a
He's a hip hop
rapper
guy.
guy, but he's with me. Mike's with me, buddy.
Mike likes 50 Cent. Who doesn't?
Is there any other rappers that you know of that you like that are like 50 Cent worth?
Nas.
Nas?
Yeah. Mobb Deep.
Who else?
Cameron. I mean, you want to go with my top five favorite all time: Tupac, Biggie, 50 Cent, Nas, and Ice Cube. It's my top five. It's the best top five list you'll ever find.
All right, we're gonna have
Well,
Chris.
Chris Hudson could talk hip hop, and he'd be a good one to stump
Joe
on
Pavich, you
politics.
said. Joe Pavich's a big hip hop guy, right? He loves
Me and
all
Joe
that stuff.
Pavich had a 45-minute conversation the other night just about hip hop. So I'm not in the minority. Sorry, guys.
I mean, I don't know.
Just because you listen to Taylor Swift
hey,
and
listen, Mike,
Selena
I'm with Mike.
Gomez, Vanilla Ice
Hey, I
Cream.
do. I have to listen to Taylor Swift, and I know you do too because your daughter's in the car, right?
Correct.
So,
I-
what are you gonna do?
I-
Drive down the road and listen to your crap?
Well, not only do I have to listen to Taylor Swift, I have to support Taylor Swift. I've probably given Taylor Swift more money than anyone else in the last couple of years.
You're buying her all kinds of stuff, or what are you doing? Like all kinds of all kinds of things?
Merchandise, yeah, freaking
Yeah.
sweatshirt she got for Christmas.
Yeah, merchandise.
Can't afford the concert tickets, unfortunately, but everything else.
Hey, so how much pressure is that for you as a parent to try to keep up with the Taylor Swift stuff?
I don't keep up with it. There's no pressure, but it's kind of a rock and a hard place because I feel like my daughter's almost has an obsession with this person who I particularly don't really, let's say, care for. But
Geez, I wonder what that feels like. I wonder what that
it's
feels
your
like.
it's your daughter, so it's like whatever if she likes Taylor Swift, she'll grow out of it. There'll be another one in a couple of years. I just can't remember when I was growing up anybody around like having kind of an obsession with a particular artist. I guess girls like New Kids on the Block back in the day and stuff. But the Taylor Swift obsession, I've never seen anything like it.
But I agree with you. Taylor Swift actually took over the NFL, which is ridiculous, right? And then
Ruin the NFL.
yeah, crazy in the NFL. I don't really understand it, but basically took over the NFL for the whole season.
But you can't blame her for that. I mean, she was just supporting her manager. The NFL chose to capitalize and show her at every chance they got. And let me tell you something. My daughter became a football fan basically because of Taylor Swift.
Yeah,
so
no, I
think
get
about
it.
how
I
many
get it.
people
I get
brought
it.
a whole new audience. But definitely
Yeah.
people are burned out. I think the Taylor Swift fad is definitely coming to a halt. I mean, she got booed at the Super Bowl. I think she's on borrowed time at this point in terms of her massive popularity.
Very
She's
much
no
so.
50 Cent. 50 Cent will live forever.
Yeah, got it. Well, I don't want to wait any longer. We don't want to leave Chris Hudson waiting. We got him in our green room. Chris Hudson, I've got to know a little bit over the last year or so running my own campaign. Super knowledgeable guy here in Collier County, and matter of fact, throughout the state and throughout the country. And I think the best title for him is a political analyst or advisor or political guru. I know you and Pat, you and Chris go back for quite some time, so it's always going to be interesting to see exactly what he's going to bring to the table. But I'll tell you what, to have a guy like Chris Hudson jump on at a time like we have right now, I think it's pretty good. Chris, are you there? Can you? I got to assign him, but I think he's going to be jumping on. He should be here shortly. Chris, are you there?
There we go.
Can you hear us, buddy?
What's up, guys?
My
Can you hear me?
man.
The man,
Looking
Chris
sharp.
Hudson. Yeah.
You look
at
astute.
that.
You look like a political advisor. Maybe a secure
Yeah,
advisor.
I look like a guy well tired. There was a tweet storm yesterday, and
Yeah, I
I'm,
heard about that. Was there? Did Donald Trump President Trump tweet something yesterday? I didn't see anything, but maybe there was something out there.
yeah, he sent a nice tweet to his followers and all the folks who pay attention to that sort of thing, X world, uh, encouraging our friend and one of my bosses, Congressman Byron Donalds, to consider running for governor in Florida, and it was really nice of him, and it certainly has yielded a ton of excitement, but as do most ex posts from the president, But yeah, man, it's super exciting. It's out there, and I know Byron, as he responded, he felt honored, and I will see what's next.
Yeah, that's probably a post you share. That's one of the, I know Congressman Donald gets tagged in a lot of things, but that's probably one you probably go ahead and share when President Trump comes out and endorses you, and not only endorses you, but encourages you to run for governor for the great state of Florida.
Yeah, you know what? I will tell you this. I was kind of blown away because there was a tweet by the president, or an X post, or a True Social post rather, earlier in the week that kind of laid out some preliminary findings of what a race could look like and what those numbers might look like. And so I was shocked, frankly, to see another X post from the president last night. Pleasantly surprised. I know we were all watching Team USA and in Canada, but seeing that certainly changed my evening quite a bit. I'm sure it changed and just about anyone else who knows our good friend from Naples.
So you're a senior advisor to Congressman Donalds, correct?
Yeah. Yep.
Uh, and there was a lot of talk about Congressman Donalds getting in the race now. So you said the tweet from Trump, you guys had no heads up. Hey, this is coming. I'm going to throw my support behind you. You got kind of blindsided in a good way by it.
Yeah, I mean, I would imagine that the congressman got a heads up. I certainly
Hmm.
think for the rest of us, that's not a normal thing to be queued up on because it's such
Hmm.
a tight thing. There was a lead up to it. It certainly was very quick and very short. I don't know. I think we'd have to ask the congressman how he came to know and when he came to know. But he seemed similarly surprised when we were
Hmm.
talking on the phone post. So I would imagine it was a pleasant surprise for everybody. And I'm not sure about the timing on everything, but man, couldn't have happened at a nicer time during a hockey game that didn't end up the way we wanted it to.
Yeah, made the night a little bit better. Now, I know Congressman Donalds hasn't officially announced that he's going to run for governor, but with that endorsement from President Trump, does that basically seal the race? I mean, basically closes the race. And basically, I think more than anything, what that does is discourages anyone who thought about entering the race, but say President Trump's 100% behind Congressman Donalds. I'm not even going to think twice about entering this thing. And I think we'd all agree, even before the endorsement, Byron was the clear cut favorite to become our next governor if he does indeed choose to run.
You know, I can't speak to who or what or how because it's been my experience in Florida politics that um, you can never, nothing's ever a foregone conclusion, and
Hmm.
you don't know who's going to decide to do what. I look back to, I mean, let's take a couple gubernatorials in the past to answer your question. I would say, look at Bill McCollum. Bill McCollum thought he had a glide path uh, to the governor's mansion, and then Rick
Yeah.
Scott and a ton of money, and I frankly mopped the floor with what was a pretty stellar state of Florida in Bill McCollum, and let's fast forward. Everybody thought Putnam had the clear line of sight on the governor, and Ron DeSantis showed up and mopped the floor with him. I think we're in a time frame now where you can't take anything for granted, and that's why I think the congressman's super focused on just doing his job in Congress and paying attention to the way the wind blows and paying attention to the ongoings that are happening around the state. But when and if he makes that decision, this will be part of that calculus, I'm sure. But we have history to teach us that it is never as easy as it looks.
Chris, quick question. In your experience, have you ever seen anybody that's given the endorsement and backed off later on, or is that something that, I mean, obviously Donald Trump's a guy that once he puts the the thumb and the hammer on it, he pretty much sticks with it. Um, that's question number one, and number two, and Patrick touched on it. Do you feel that by him doing that, it's going to keep people at bay and not jump in the race? What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, again, it was an encouragement to run, right? And for those of you who've run, that's not a I endorse. That's an encouragement. You should consider this and consider for governor, which I think is huge. Does it probably, to get some folks to think twice? I certainly think so. But there are certain type of folks that run for office at that level, and they're not usually dissuaded. They've decided to do that. So I never rule out more folks that I think could be there, and I think the state would be, I think in a good spot if there were folks to die challenge the, where we are as a state. So there's going to be a bunch of people that run for governor. That's just it's just the way it is. Uh,
But Chris, he did not only he could have stopped at encouraging him to run for governor, but he came out and said he would have his total endorsement as well.
I read the post, and to answer Tim your question, it's not been my experience that people walk back on things. But again, you can't look. If we think we live in normal political time out of our mind, Donald Trump changed what was considered normal political times. Today, people who were not the establishment are considered the establishment, and people who were the establishment are considered liberals. It is there has been a stark departure over time across the political sphere, specifically in Florida. And I would say if you don't think that Trump has reshaped the way in which everyone should feel constantly uncomfortable, constantly in a state of discomfort, constantly not taking things for granted, that is the nature of politics today. The unexpected is now the expected, and so I'm never going to sit here and tell Nostradamus-esque way what I think will happen. It's our job when we advise it to try to shape the landscape and try to more importantly inform the candidate about the landscape and put them in a position for success no matter what they try to do. But there's no way to guarantee anything, and there's no way to say yes, that person won't do X because of this, because it's my experience, especially in this political times, human nature is a strange thing. People want to do what they want to do, and that's kind of it.
He's so politically savvy, isn't he, Tim? I love it.
Yeah, I mean, how could you like Chris words everything just right? He knows how to do it, and he's not trying to be a politician about it. That's one thing about
No,
Chris. I've heard him speak a couple times, and he says it straight up.
because he's
Whether
been
it's
around long enough to see these
what,
things,
yeah,
how
whether it's
things have to
positive or
react.
whether it's negative. I mean, he tells you straight up, and I think that's why it'd be good to have him as your advisor because he's going to tell you. Um, Chris, when you have to tell in your past experiences, and I knew your dad real well, but in your past experiences when you've been an advisor, do you find it difficult to tell the person you're advising the bad news?
Absolutely. I mean, but it's the job. That's actually what they're hiring you to do. It's the best teams are not the teams of yes men and yes women. The best teams are the folks looking out for your best interest, but also the best interest of the office that they're trying to seek. And it can be a bit of a delicate balance trying to honor the goals of the client, but also understanding that there's a constituency that has to vote for that client, or that future office holder. And at the end of the day, it's the folks who are going to determine who sits in that seat. And so occasionally you have to put the candidate in a position where they see the shortcomings and the negative trade-offs, the negative consequences to either the things they want to do or the things that they're they've done, and or the bad news of say a candidate X emerges and raises X amount of money, or say an issue pops up and they have to take a really important vote. And I think for folks who aren't currently elected, delivering bad news to them is less frequent than delivering bad news to someone who is currently elected, because they are constantly waking up day and having to think about what's in the best interest of my constituency and how am I voting on X today? What am I saying about that hot topic that just popped off today? Okay, we've got X amount of border crossings at the border. How am I going to approach that issue? I'm from Florida. We have a totally different immigration crisis here in Florida. Or, you know what? New York really desperately needs the SALT deduction in terms of their tax situation. But in Florida, we don't appreciate, and understanding relative to the office you're in what the situation is. So different if you look at a county commission race, right? What's important Lee County with an at-large plus member district sort of setup versus a county like our Collier, which is single member. Advising those two types of commissioners is very different. Advising an inland state representative versus a coastal state representative is very different. The impacts and the policies are similar. They have a different feel and flavor, and you have to be aware of that. So good news could look like, hey, there's not another office for you to run for. Bad news could look like there's not another moment for you to achieve your goals. Bad news for you is you took a wrong vote and you're probably going to be out on your butt at the next election. Bad news for you is the donor pool has dried up. They didn't like the way you approached the issues that were passionate to them. And by the way, politics takes resources to get a message out, and so people are constantly focused on the best way to achieve attaining resources to run campaigns. You hear all this speech about not taking PAC dollars, taking PAC dollars. I don't take this interest's money or that interest's money. I got news for you. It has been the situation as long as politics has been happening, and that's where we find most of the bad news. Most of the bad comes around the fundraising aspects of advising your clients.
And what's your thoughts on Casey DeSantis possibly entering the race? I know it's been kind of floated out there. I kind of particularly found the timing of this endorsement kind of ironic with that news last week. But what's your thoughts on that?
I think Governor DeSantis has done an incredible job running the state, and I think he's going to continue to do an incredible job running the state. And I think whoever the baton is handed off to in the 26th election will continue to run an incredible state. And, in terms of Casey or anyone else, I guess we'll just have happens.
Any other races that you have your eye on in the state of Florida in the 2026 elections?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the big ones that the NRCC is saying is a pickup is Florida Congressional District 23. That's over in Broward County. That's Jared Moskowitz. There's going to be some pretty heavy hitters that decide to take a bite of the apple and try to pick up a seat for the Republicans in the House over there. I think we're going to have to pay close attention to some of those I-4 corridor seats this cycle that are going to be, probably heavily challenged by the Democratic Party. And I'm paying attention to that. I'm also paying attention to the landscape around the Florida Senate and the Florida House. I think it's exciting for folks in Southwest Florida. We've got some big, heavy state Senate. We got some new blood in the state House. We've got a lot of things happening, and thanks to the leadership of Danny Perez and the speakers in the House, they've been able to grow that majority. I think it'll be interesting to see whether or not House leadership can hold the majority in 26, grow it even more, or if we see some attrition. And then the state Senate, gosh, man, I think it's the first I've ever seen the state Senate and the state House get along. But I watch those elections closely because, as you can see from a veto override recently, the legislature still matters and occasionally reminds the governor of the state of Florida that they matter. I can't remember a veto override since like the times of Charlie Crist, but the reason I watch those elections is you kind of have to wonder how the governor will react to the state House and state Senate members and if that will have an impact on their election. I doubt that it will, but it's possible. But that landscape's going to shift slightly. And there will be new presiding officers and new leaders who take over. And if you pay attention to state house races, for instance, the speaker designate, who's actually the next guy in line to be speaker, is in charge of running the Republican Party of Florida's House campaigns wing, as is the incoming Senate president is in charge of running the Senate campaigns of the Republican Party of Florida. And those two are charged with not only holding the majority, but growing the majority. But it's a dogfight and it's expensive. And so everyone gets focused on watching the United States Congress and the margin there, which I know will be sorted out sometime after April 1st with the ascension of Jimmy Patronis and Randy Fine. But the State House, State Senate, man, that's where the ball game is. It's what I tell people about the federal government, too. It's exciting to have the White House, and it's exciting to have all three, but we have to do something with all three. That's how you keep all three.
Well, I don't think we have to worry about Florida, obviously, staying red, but I would just like to get your opinion, because I know you worked in D.C. for a number of years, so you know the national landscape of politics as well. Do you see California at any point in the near future possibly turning red. Maybe not as a state, but more areas, because that's kind of been the hot buzz.
I mean, if you look at the last cycle and you look at members numbers, like take Congresswoman Young Kim and Congresswoman Michelle Steele, both from Republican areas, I'd say they still have, they still fight really hard to hold their ground, right? There's actually a lot of Republican congressmen and women who are in California. I mean, the blessing of having a big state. But in terms
Hmm.
of growth, it's certainly possible. But I tell people you have to have rock bottom before that wholesale shift.
Hmm.
Look at West Virginia, or even if you want to look at Florida, um, before Daniel Webster took the state to Republican, you really have to hit rock bottom. And I'm not sure. I know we all think because we see the news
Ouch.
that did it. I don't think it's hit rock bottom yet.
That's scary.
That is very scary.
Yeah.
Holy smokes.
Just a couple things locally. I know that there's been some word, and I think state senate reps locally. Do you have any info that you can provide at this point on what that might look like as far as who's going to be jumping in?
I mean, right now we know for the state senate, it's going to be, Lauren Mello announced this week that she has a candidacy for the state. We know former Representative Bob Rommel also is interested in the Senate. I think we have to wait and see how that all sorts itself out. Those are two pretty, I call them
Yeah,
heavy.
that'd be a heck
Those
of
are,
a.
those, it is what it is. And then you got if Mello's out, obviously that means that the House seat, which actually my dad used to serve in, that Congressman Donald served in after him, and then Mello, that's going to be open. And if with Byron, if he decides to, tackle this bigger post, and he hasn't decided that yet, but if he does, then there's a congressional seat open. And if if all of those things are open, all bets are off. Everybody will run for the House. Everybody will run for the Senate. Everybody will run for the state house, and that's just kind of the way these things always go. And it really matters. My advice to everybody is, it, it's all great to build momentum. It's who qualifies that matters. So at the end of the day, whose name is on the qualifying paperwork? Because you're going to see people that run for the state Senate that bail to run for the state House right before qualifying. You're going to see people who run for the U.S. Congress if Byron um, who suddenly bail right before qualifying to challenge for the state senate. It's just kind of the nature of things. They look at the resources they have, they look at the opportunity they have, they look at where their name ID is at a given point on the timeline, and they make a determination on what they think is possible. But there's never a shortage of candidates in Collier, and unfortunately, and I wish
No.
this wasn't, we are the most cannibalizing county in the state. It is the most annoying thing on the planet. I urge anyone who watches or listens to this, stop. Ideas are good, but cannibalization is bad, and it's embarrassing, and it makes us look
Uh,
silly.
explain that, Chris. Explain what you
Yeah, I
mean
mean,
by
look,
that.
donors have to spend a ton of resources to watch Republican on Republican on Republican on Republican infighting in what is arguably one of the most impressive Republican counties in the state. Turnout numbers wise, we're either number one and two every election cycle for turnout. Every cycle, it's like between us and Okaloosa and like Walton and Bay County. I mean, it's ridiculous. The Panhandle versus us, and so we get high numbers of Republican turnout, but we have tons of Republicans who challenge each other. And what usually starts out as this like conversation of ideas, conversation about policy, uh, just gets into another vein and another rhythm. And unfortunately, the rest of the state watches us to see as a litmus test for Republicans how to trigger other Republicans. I mean, the Democrats watch us to figure out how to move us and how to take us off our game. They want us to infight because we spend donor dollars to fight each other, spending those dollars in places where we could win and pick seats up. If we are trying to win and pick up more seats, grow our majorities, then spending it on killing each other or cannibalizing each other in our own backyard, in the most impressive of Republican backyards in probably the country, is silly and inane and should stop.
Well said. I agree. And Chris, obviously, we go back with Congressman Donalds, and I think you saw something special in him years and years ago, as I did. Who's one guy, a younger politician, younger person, female, male, in the state of Florida that I hate to like compare someone to another person, but could be like the next Congressman Donalds, as you see like a rising star in the party in the state of Florida?
Chris shaking his head over there. He's like,
Well, there's
That's
because it's
hard.
probably there's because I could think of a couple right off the bat. But I'm just curious, if someone comes to mind that you can name.
You know, um, Gosh, that you just threw. I mean, I guess another person who kind of inspires me,
Hmm.
in terms of state politics, and they're not local to here, but let's go a different direction. We just talked about Republican on Republican infighting. Go to Leon County. Go to that portion of the state where Corey
Okay.
Simon, state senator. Corey Simon is a younger gentleman. He's a senator. He is hyper talented. He's a rock star who has fought his way to the top in one of the bluest areas in our state. To be a Republican and emerge as the state senator from that area is just super impressive, and it means you are dynamic, and it means that the conversation and the ideas you are having around policy is mattering to the folks in your backyard. To have a diversity of folks walk in and cast their votes for a Republican in a state that traditionally, or pardon me, in a county that traditionally doesn't do that, that is just, guys. I mean, that's a big deal, right? It's almost as big of a deal as winning in a county that cannibalizes, all the effort, right? I mean, they're two tails, two different sides of the coin, if you will. I think there's a lot of people who are out there. There's a couple guys who lost last time that I think will reemerge as stars. People don't remember this, but Speaker Paul Renner, who just is the outgoing speaker, and I'll use this as a tale for anybody who ever wants to run. And I know Tim, you've run, so you know what these dog fights are like. But
it's it's
um,
it's it's interesting.
so just as an example, Paul Renner in his first election lost by 2 votes. He lost by exactly 2 votes for the state house. Just process that for a second. 2 votes. Two. And he comes back, he wins another cycle later, and he goes on to be the Speaker of the Florida House. And I would argue he's one of the best speakers of the Florida House. And if you go back a little farther in history, maybe you guys have heard of current new college president Richard Corcoran, former Florida Speaker of the House. I think Richard 4 times. I think Richard literally ran for the state house like 4 times, and he had to I mean, he was Marco Rubio's chief of staff in the House. He ran 4 times and failed at it. Then he wins. He goes on to beat Matt Gaetz in the speaker's race and ends up the Speaker of the Florida House and probably reformed the state more than any other speaker in the history of our state. You know, I just say that because there's some people who lost this last time. Take a Nick Primrose. Um, there's folks who didn't make it across the finish line who were super talented, but they're going to find their place because we have this thing called redistricting, and we are the fastest growing state. And 1,000 Republicans, or I presume Republicans, are moving here a day because why else wouldn't you, right? I'm sure there's some Democrats sprinkled in there that got here by accident, maybe got lost on 5 or 75, and
Or maybe some Democrats would become Republicans too.
Or vice
yeah, I mean
versa.
we just saw that in Broward, Hillary Castle,
Hmm.
right? Perez, look at Rising Star. He just turned 2 Democrats into Republicans this year. I mean, that's also a pretty cool statistical factoid, right? That never happened. That's a big, big deal. We're blessed. There is no shortage of rising stars, guys. That's the problem. We
No.
have we have a talented state, a lot of young talent, a lot of older talent, people with a lot of wisdom, a lot of experience. I mean, that's what makes Collier County the most annoying place. Probably have more CEOs, both active and in retirement, than in any place in the country, right? At any given moment, we have more brain drain happening around right into our backyard. It's really phenomenal. So I don't know who's the next person on the list to rise. But if tell you what, I'm a little biased. If it wasn't Byron, I'd probably put up Erica Donalds on that list, or frankly, I'd probably put my wife on that list. My wife's extremely talented, more
I can
talented than I
agree
could
with
ever.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, you know her,
Yeah, I
my
mean,
wife,
she's sharp as a.
rock star.
Yeah, she's awesome. Yeah.
I think Byron Donalds could be president one day, and Erica Donalds could be governor of Florida too. I mean, talk about the Donalds dynasty. So, uh,
That that's a hard road to toe to do both, but you're
I
not wrong.
know.
If anybody's capable of probably those two. And I'll leave you with this. You know, I look around and I'm involved with a lot of different charities and I sit on a couple boards. I sit on actually I sit on the Optima class work board, and I also sit on Paintball for a Purpose. You all know I'm kind of a paintball junkie. I saw you through my
The
paintball.
belt. The belt.
Champ is
You
here.
know, yeah, but I sit, dude, if you look around at some of the nonprofits that go on in this state, the people look, take I don't know if you guys are familiar with just up the road in Cape Coral, there's David Brown and Anjali running the Family Initiative, which is dedicated for some kids on the autism spectrum, providing services and building a campus for them and a school. Look, there are people who are doing incredible charitable work who at one point or another are going to decide that they want to try to do bigger things by being able to push the red green button or get into the mix in an agency or as a secretary. We are right, guys. It's coming, and these leaders that are in these charitable communities are eventually going to say, "All right, let's go." And by the way, they're the right people to do that. You know why? They didn't decide they wanted to run for office at birth. They decided they want to be a part of their community and then run. And I do think that that is an important component, is being a part in part.
Yeah. No, we
Hey,
really
hey,
appreciate it. Yeah.
Hey, Chris,
That's
before
good
you go,
information.
I know you're a big football guy. We've been playing this game here where people try to stump me on. That's right. Hold up that U nicely, yeah. On where particular NFL guys from like '95 on went to college. You want to throw one at me, like a random guy that you think of?
What college did he go to?
Yeah.
Wait, you just want me to say a name, or you say the
Just say a
college?
name. Yeah,
It's
I'll tell you
NFL
the
player.
college. You tell me the player, and I'll tell you the college. Again, from like '95 on.
Marino.
Oh, that's an easy one. That's Pittsburgh.
But I
Come
just
on, you
wanted
gotta
you
do
to.
better.
I just wanted to. Hey, come on. I wanted to hear you say Marino. And,
Yeah.
Dan Marino and I have the same birthday, so I'm kind of a junkie. All right, like not the same year. He's much older. But we should like Marino.
You both also share another thing in common. You have the same amount of Super Bowl rings.
Oh,
But
Yeah, that's good. Hey, Chris, I can't thank you enough for coming on. You've been unbelievable.
thank you, Chris.
We
And
appreciate you.
I'm sure we'll have Chris on regularly as these campaigns heat up for 2026.
Yeah, Chris, you have an open invitation, buddy. We think the world of you being here local with so much knowledge. We appreciate you. Thank you so much. Jump on.
Thanks
We're
for having
having
me.
a fun time.
take care.
Send my best to Team Downs. Thanks, Chris.
All right, Patrick.
Great show.
We're out, brother.
That was a
Gotta
great
love
show.
it. We're
Fun
having
show.
fun. Hey, see you guys. Have a good weekend. It's always a good time to enjoy the weekend. Love you guys. See you on Monday, 8 a.m.